I guess the music's off, and it is 11:29, so we have a little more content than we're comfortable with covering in 45 minutes. So let's use that extra minute, and we'll cram in some more information. Hello and welcome to the What's New and Next for Microsoft Search Customization and Development. My name is Kerem Yüceturk. I'm a program manager with the OneDrive and SharePoint team. I look after how OneDrive and SharePoint integrate with Microsoft Search. And I'm very excited we're bringing the global Microsoft Search team here on stage today. I will be joined by Jyoti from our office in Bengaluru, India, all the way from India here. And we'll have Mikael Svensson of the PMP Search Web Parts fame joining us from Oslo, Norway. And we'll have Nicola and myself from our Redmond offices near Seattle, Washington. So thank you all for coming and spending your pre-lunch hour with us. Hopefully we'll finish on time so we can get you to getting your food. And we'll quickly start with a demo of what you're going to be able to see. So before we show you how to do things and what the capabilities we're adding for configuring and customizing search are, we wanted to show you what the end result looks like. So let me switch over to my demo environment. And we'll start with something simple. So now here you're looking at our Contoso Electronics SharePoint start page. And when I click on it, you get the personalized results. That is the hallmark of Microsoft Search, is that special sauce. So if I go in and type in Mark 8, you get your search results. And of course, if you were here for the earlier session when we talked about the graph connectors, you can see that we now have this new vertical. So we're adding the capability to add these custom verticals that will show content from external sources to Microsoft 365. In this case, we have something where we're showing in results from MediaWiki, and that is now part of your search experience under Microsoft Search inside SharePoint, and you're able to create these new custom verticals for these content sources that are coming from outside, and create these beautiful layouts for showing the content that's locked in those external systems. So that's part one, and Jyoti is going to walk you through how to create these and show you all, tell you all about it. Part two, we're going to switch gears and look at SharePoint sites and what you can do with some of the configuration options there. And you'll be able to see how you can set up and create a new custom results page. So look at what's happening here. I'm in this site, and I'm typing in new products. And when I hit enter, what do I see? It's another SharePoint page. It doesn't look like our out-of-box search results page. It uses some web parts. This means you can go ahead and create that tailored custom search applications experiences in your SharePoint sites and go and do what you need to do to make your business successful, what your business needs for that from out of that SharePoint site. All right, let's go back to our slides and talk a little bit about where we're coming from. So Microsoft Search is the search experience for all of Microsoft 365. It is the search experience in SharePoint, in modern SharePoint. It is there in OneDrive. It is there in Office.com, in Bing, in Microsoft Search in Bing. And it's showing up in Outlook, all the Office clients. So this is the one capability that we're bringing everything together under so that you can get to the content that you have in your organization through that one search box that is prominently placed on top of your pages. It is using Bing technology, but it's also leveraging our legacy fast technologies under the covers. You don't need to worry about it. We're taking care of that for you. And if you went to the Search 20 session that we had 2 days ago, we kind of peeked under the covers there to see what's going on. So if you haven't caught that, I would recommend watching that video on demand to understand what's going on underneath. When people ask me, this was kind of a question about the middle of this year, but I don't think I'm getting that asked anymore, but it's worth underlining it here again. People sometimes ask me, like, do I use SharePoint Search? Do I use Microsoft Search? That's not really a choice. If you're using modern search experiences in SharePoint, you are using Microsoft Search. It is the same thing. It is very, very much the same thing. And Microsoft Graph that you're familiar with is that special sauce for Microsoft Search. So it is how we understand we make sense of the world around you, the work experience that you have. We understand the world, we understand who you work with, what files you work on, what people are involved in your content, and we use that important information to make sure that the search results are personalized to you. Whenever I clicked on that search box, I was getting back those search suggestions without having typed anything, and those were the sites that I frequented. Those were the sites that I go to frequently. Those were the files that I work with. Those are the people that I work with. So Microsoft Graph is that special sauce, and it is getting richer every day. If you've seen some of the announcements about Project Cortex earlier this week and seen those sessions, there's a lot of new knowledge getting added into the Microsoft Graph, and all of that is also will be accessible through Microsoft Search. So all of that is coming together beautifully under this Microsoft Search umbrella as well. All right. So let's get into the meat of this. Do I need to configure or customize? What is configuration and customization? And we see this as a spectrum, as a continuum of various options here. So on the very right, on the left-hand side, my left, your left, my right, is using the experiences out of box. So we try hard to make sure that the out-of-box search experience is simple and it just works. You don't need to usually do anything to get search results. We're already indexing your content. We're already showing you a search results page that shows your content in the best light possible. And we are ranking it so that it is specifically ranked for you personally so that the most relevant content gets up to the top. This should be sufficient for most scenarios, and if you're in this session, you are usually not one of those people necessarily that is happy with what we provide out of box necessarily. You know, you want to add more on it, but this is going to be sufficient for most users. This is going to be the good, useful thing for most people. When in doubt, if you don't want to put any effort into this, using stuff out of box will get you there. Then we start to configure small things. So if you are a search admin, we talked about this again in the admin session, you can set up bookmarks, locations, answers, and do a couple of other configuration items that will add additional value for you. And these are not very hard to do. These are fairly easy, and you get a big result, big bang out of it for a very little buck that you're spending there. Then we're going to get a little more complicated. We're going to look at how you make that external content searchable. The session just before this one, where we talked about setting up graph connectors, now you're in that territory. And then if you really want to customize how that adaptive card layout looks like for your session, then you're maybe dealing with some JSON, you're using the designer, you're kind of like tweaking things there. This is kind of closer to the classic model of the display templates, etc. So this is kind of getting a little more complicated, a little more effort there to maintain. But it's relatively in between area between configuration and customizing, developing. And then at the very end, we're gonna let you just whip out Visual Studio Code and then start typing in and building these SharePoint framework web parts, put them on a custom search results page, or just use the APIs, build a standalone application completely outside of SharePoint, and use those APIs to build on top of the platform that Microsoft Search provides you. Obviously, the one on the on your right is the most complex, that requires most effort, and it's a spectrum that tries to provide you with the needs that tries to meet your needs. So today, we're not going to look at the configuring bookmarks, locations, etc. We're going to look at how you bring in content from outside of Microsoft 365 and make that shine. And then we're going to switch over and look at how you tailor your SharePoint site search experiences. And to tell you all about the first part is Jyoti.
Hi, everyone. I don't think the mic is okay. Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Jyoti Pal. I'm a program manager with the Microsoft Search Experiences team, and I am focusing on the customization bit of things. There are two key things that I actually want to talk to you about. One is adding custom verticals, and the second one is adding result layouts to your existing search results pages. Now, when you are able to add these custom verticals, what you will be able to do is allow the users to do a search on data which is indexed via connectors, And that's a key thing to note because this capability is only available for data which is indexed via connectors. So let me actually go over and start showing you how to do this. A lot of you, if you have already attended sessions from related to connectors, might have already seen some of this, but I want to do a bit more of a deep dive into how, here you go. So how all of this is done. So this is a typical experience that you will see in your SharePoint search today. So if you go to your SharePoint home and you do a query, in this case I have done a query for window. This is the experience that you see where you have these verticals, these tabs basically, which we are calling as search verticals, which are all file sites, etc. And you have these result layouts which are showing data only from your Office 365 tenant. Now, to be able to add a custom vertical, you have to be a admin. We are in the admin persona right now. So let's head into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. On the left-hand side in the navigation pane, just quickly, you have to go to settings, and under that, you have to go to Microsoft Search. You'll see a few new features over here like result types, verticals, and connectors. The first prerequisite for doing any of this is that there should already be some connections added. So in this case, you will see that we already have ServiceNow, which is indexing the ServiceNow knowledge articles. And secondly, we have Contoso Wiki, which is indexing the MediaWiki articles. So these two have already been created. Both of them are in enable status, which means that the data has been indexed. Once this prerequisite is in place, you can head on to verticals. I have the basic setup already. I'll focus more on what needs to be in there. So let me actually show you what I have done to do the setup. So I have actually created Contoso Wiki. If you remember, this is what Kerem had actually shown you at the start of the demo. So you give the name of the vertical, which is what appears in the end result page. You select the content source, which your users would be searching over. In this case, it is Contoso Wiki. Then you head on to the next step, which is query. Now, this is really useful if you don't want your users to do the search on all of the connector data. So in the case of MediaWiki, you can imagine that there are articles, which some of them are relevant for IT department, whereas some of them are relevant for sales department. And you want to create one vertical where only IT department search happens. So the good way of doing this is coming here using a KQL. Some of you or most of you might actually already be aware of. Just say category contains IT. This is my KQL. And if you leave it in there and you create the vertical, your vertical scope will be narrowed down. In my case, I don't want to do this, so I'll go ahead and remove it. And then I will click on next. And as you see, this is all which is pretty much needed to do the vertical setup. So you have all the basic information over here. I'll close this. Another key thing to note is that the status of this particular vertical is disabled right now. What this means is that the vertical is not visible to the end user. So let me go ahead and quickly enable it. What this helps you with is making sure that you don't accidentally go ahead and enable the vertical. So once it's enabled, we'll go back to the SharePoint site, and we will do a refresh of the page. And in that case, once again, I think, give me a second. We'll do a refresh of the page, and ideally one second. I'll just make it very quick so that the vertical is actually added. Here you go. So I have to do a couple of things. So now the vertical is added over here as Contoso Wiki. I'll not click on this yet because there are two key things which need to be done. One is adding the vertical. The second one is actually defining the result layout. So to define the result layout, we will go back to the M365 Admin Center, and we'll head on to result types. So here you'll see a bunch of result types which are already present, but let's focus on the Contoso Wiki result type. So I'll go to the Contoso Wiki result type. A lot of information is actually similar to the vertical. The key thing here to note is this content source. So the result type and the vertical have to be tied together to the same content source, which is essentially the same connection, which has already been done. Rules is something I'll come back to a bit later. But the really important thing over here is designing your layout. Now, you may have heard this earlier already, but we are using adaptive cards to design the layout, and we have integrated the layout designer over here. So we go to the layout designer, And you will see that we will load a set of templates which are out of box. So these are templates which we have provided, and if you like one of those templates, it's a really quick way for you to actually go ahead and get started with creating your results. So let's say that you really like this particular layout, you choose this one and you click on Get Started. After you have actually chosen this layout, the only thing that you need to do is start tying each field in this layout with your result properties. So you can imagine in this case, my Contoso Solutions is actually the title. You can imagine it to be the title from MediaWiki, and you have to enter the property that has been indexed via the connector. You might be wondering what the property is. It's really simple. You go back to your admin center, you go back to the result layout, and here we have listed down all the properties which can actually be used for mapping. So I'll bring your attention to the properties at the bottom. So you have description, title, and URL. And you just take the title over here. And right now you have to manually go ahead and add these things, but we'll make this better very soon. So as you click on each field, we'll keep telling you where you have to do the mapping. So you quickly do this, and then you'll be all set to go. So once you have done the mapping, the bottom button for generating the adaptive card JSON is enabled. You can just go ahead and click on that. It will go ahead and copy the JSON. You go back over here, paste it, and then you're all set. So once you have created your result layout, I'll discard the changes for now because I already have created this one. You can go back to your SharePoint and then click on this particular vertical, and you will see that your results from the MediaWiki have started appearing. And you can do a lot of search over here to make sure to, I'll just show you that the search actually will do things like scope queries, etc. And your users will now be able to search data from MediaWiki. Now, this is great for users who are doing the search from SharePoint, but I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what about the users who are doing the search from other places like Office.com? So the good news is that all the setup that we have done so far on Microsoft Search settings is already available on Office.com. You don't have to do anything additional. The same vertical will get enabled in Office.com as well, and your users will be able to do the same kind of search from here as well. This is also available in Bing.com. In the interest of time, I'll not go over there. The other thing which we hear a lot about is that the users are not just doing the search at an organization level, but also at a site level. So what about them? So in that case also, the customization is possible. The key thing to note is all the setting that has been done so far is not applicable as is. So the setup is pretty similar. It's just that where you do the setup changes. Again, in the interest of time, I will not go there. But just in this case, we have a site called customer support. And I want actually to let the users over here do search on ServiceNow data. So I've already done the setup. Let me just show you how it works. So the user has to go here, do the search. As of now, there are no search results for this term. But you will see that there is a ServiceNow tab vertical which has been added, and the users are actually able to search on the results over here. Another thing that you might notice is that this result actually doesn't look like the MediaWiki result that you saw. And one of the asks that we get is that you should be able to design the layout as per your need. So let me actually show you how that is going to be done. For that, I'll head back to the layout designer, and I'll start with the main page. So there are three ways that you can actually design a layout. One is you take what we have provided, you're happy with it, you continue, and you're done. Second one is that you see all these options, you like something, but it's not exactly what you want. So we have a bunch of options. So in that case, what you can do is take whatever you need, add and remove things. So let me actually show you how that is done. So you choose the layout that you like, you go to the map properties page again, and over here you will notice on the top that there is a edit layout option. So you edit this particular layout, you've entered the edit mode, and you can see all the elements. Imagine, let me go back to you and show you the ServiceNow result. So here there's no image on the right-hand side, and there is some additional information here at the bottom. So what you do is you remove this particular element for the image, and then you just go ahead, drag and drop the new text block over here, and make the changes. In this case, the information is actually coming for the results. So the way you actually do this is, let's say you want to show a KB category where the value comes from the results. So you go ahead and keep a placeholder for the KB category, and then you just leave it there, and when the result returns the value, you will actually see it being replaced over here. And the other key thing to note is that you have to provide the value here in the sample data editor. Now, this might look a little odd to you in the sense that how does the result actually finally look like? So you just go to the preview mode, and you can see what your result is going to look like. And the key thing is that the sample values that you provide are going to help you in visualizing the final result layout. So this is how you actually create different types of result layout. A lot of things are possible. I encourage you to go ahead and explore this layout designer and try it out. One of the final key things that I actually want to show you is the fact that if you have noticed, these two results are actually very similar but not the same. The key difference is that this result, which is highlighted over here, has been authored by a system administrator, and we want it to look like an authoritative result, so we want it to look slightly different. That's where the rules, if you remember, in the result layout comes in. So the way it actually works is that, let me just quickly show you. You go in the result layouts, in the result types, you create a rule saying that whenever an author is a system administrator, show a different type of a result layout. So overall, what I want to tell you is, to summarize, that there are a lot of capabilities that are now available. There is a lot of flexibility which is possible. And to finally show you the kind of flexibility which is possible, I'll quickly show you some of the result layouts which have been built by our partners, which are all of different kinds for different types of scenarios, and the system is up for grabs, and I'll hand it over to Kiran.
So how about that? The result types have been modernized. They're coming to your connectors later. They'll be coming to your SharePoint content as well. But those great capabilities that we have been hearing from you that you want are finally coming here, and we have line of sight on all of that. All right. So with that, let's switch over to talking about configuring search on a SharePoint site. And I'll tell you a little bit about two settings that we have there, and then I'll hand it over to Mikhail because he's going to show you what that actually means. So earlier this year, we released a setting that was available for your SharePoint sites called Search Scope. And this was important because some of you wanted to make sure that when you're in a given SharePoint site, you wanted to set the default search scope to be your your whole organization. So you didn't want to just search in that site. You were in that site, but you wanted to search the whole organization. You started doing that, and there's been great interest and uptake on the usage of that property. We are soon introducing a new property called that defines your search box behavior, and this is going to help you manage what the new search box that's in the suite header behaves like in your particular site or site collection. So you can set it at the site collection level, you can set it at the site level, and what you're going to be able to do is, by default, you're going to be using the modern Microsoft search box in the suite header in all of your sites. So that's going to be the default behavior. It's actually going to upgrade your classic sites as well when that rolls out. We're going to talk about it. We're going to make a message center post. You won't be caught unawares, so you'll have plenty of warning about this. But we are upgrading your classic pages and showing the Microsoft search box and getting the Microsoft search experience into your classic pages, classic sites. If you happen to be on one of those sites where you have created a custom search results experience that you want to stick with, you don't want to switch to the modern experience, you can use this setting to opt out. So you'll be able to set that at the site collection level, at the web level, and say, leave classic alone, don't touch it. Or we know a lot of our customers are using their own search boxes. They're like, hey, I'm not going to use your search box. I'm going to bring my own search box that does special things. We're like, well, our search box is pretty good, but if you want to, you can use this setting to hide our search box, and then you can roll out your own search box, and that will become possible very soon as well. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mikkel, who's going to show these in action and talk a little bit about the custom search results page as well.
Thank you. So my name is Mikael Svensson. So I'm a program manager with the Microsoft Search Experiences team. I'm based out of Oslo, so the old FAST team. And I work with customization scenarios. And I'm also a member of the PMP core team. So you saw Karem showed some object model settings. So what I've done for you, so with the November release of the PMP PowerShell commandlets, I created a new commandlet, set PMP search settings and get PMP search settings to make it easier to do those settings so you don't have to use the object model to figure it out. And you can look at the code to figure out what's happening behind the scenes. Or, yeah. And also there's a get command as well, so you can check the settings. If someone's, well, things are not working the way I want, you can connect to the site, and then you can check what the settings actually are. So we'll also bring some of these settings to the UI, but right now it's only the object model. So for the scope setting, so I have a communication site here. So if I search for communicate, so by default, you see the search results are scoped to the site only. So that's a communication site. But so this is an associated site to a hub, so I can upscope to the hub itself. So it's marketing, now I get more results. Or I can also upscope to the organization and get even more results. We know a lot of people think this is confusing because the users don't necessarily know where they are. Maybe you set up an internet start page, which is on site/internet, and maybe you want global results. So what we can do is, if I take this URL using PowerShell, connect PMP online like that, and set PMP search settings, and then we do search scope and set this to tenant. So you also saw there was an option there for hub. Hub is currently not working, but it will work. So that means if you, working. So that means if you have a hub site and an associated site, you could set the search scope to hub in all those sites. That means all the sites will get all the hub results. Right. So if I now go back to my page, let's just close this. So you see this says now search this site. And if I reload it, it should say, try again. And now it says search in SharePoint. So if I do the same search now, communicate. So now I don't have the site and the hub scope. It just shows the global scope. So it makes it very easy for you to just configure that. Okay. And then for the next demo, so I will, as Karem showed you previously, so he had a custom page where he redirected the search box to a custom page and then augmented the search box. So let's start with just creating a new page. So let's do a page here. Let's do a blank layout. Let's call this Ignite Demo. And scroll up. Well, just make the header smaller, easier to see. All right, remove this web part. So now I'm adding my own web parts. So here you see I have a couple of search web parts. So these are the PMP modern search web parts, open source web parts, which just got released in version 3.7. So yes, they are production ready. Yes, they are being used in production in a lot of tenants. I think it's over 1,000 tenants actively using these web parts. So they should be production safe. So this project was started to mimic all the classic web parts. I mean, because there's no first-party web parts to do this. So you have search box, search navigation, pagination, etc. So you could use this. So let's do the search result web part, and then I'm going to configure this one. So instead of typing a query here, so I'm going to connect this to a source using the SharePoint Framework dynamic data. So I have the page environment. And you see down here, so there's a new property called the search. So the asterisk will be removed. So this is a preview feature which will come fairly soon. So I'm going to pick search, and then the search query. And let's just add a default query so I get some results, make it easier to configure. So since this is a presentation site, so here's my query template. I'm going to just filter on PowerPoint's file type PPTX like this. And let's do another layout. So I can do tiles. If you want to do your own custom layouts, you can also do edit template. And here's some markup. So we're using handlebars, so HTML handlebars, and we also have some web components. We're looking to extend so you could do your own web components, basically do any rendering you want, which sort of bridges the gap for the display templates with full-on JavaScript and CSS. Let's close this, and let's publish this page. So now I've created the page, but I'm not already there, because if I now use a search box, I will get the out-of-the-box search page. So what I need to do, I need to redirect the search box to go to this particular page. So if I go back to my PowerShell, so if I do the same commandlet, and then I do search page URL, set it to this page. If let's go to my start page. Search for sales. Oops. I forget to connect to the, thank you. PowerShell makes it very quick though. So, well, it took me like 10 seconds more. Let's try again. We're also looking to get a placeholder so you can replace the text in the search box as well. Like you could say search for presentations, for example. Now, but what you see here, so I mean, you have the search box up here, and then you have the search result way down here. So you have all this all this space in between. So what we enabled is actually a new page layout for SharePoint Modern Pages, so you could remove the Chrome. So if I take my URL, or the page, well, I don't actually need that URL. So if I now do set PMP client side page, identity, ignite demo, layout type. So you now have a new layout called headerless search results. So if I enable this, and if I reload the page, all that Chrome is gone. Yeah. Yeah. So one thing you have to remember if you do this, well, now I don't have any navigation options. That means you would have to provide some way on the page to actually navigate back to the home page or something. But at least it makes it possible to create fully custom pages with anything you want. And I want
to remind everyone that this is for search results pages only. Don't go
in
other places.
And then for my third demo, so this is the Intelligent Search IP Kit from Microsoft Consulting Services and Premier Support. So what they have done, they have taken the PMP web parts and then they modified the code a little bit. So they use a fully custom renderer instead of using the handlebars. So that's also possible within the project. And then they have extended the search box to do a query pipeline. That means that you'll take the search query and you'll pass it through a number of steps. So you can augment and add synonyms, etc., to the query. And then before you fire it down to the actual search results. And they also included their own query suggestions. See if I click here. So these are both curated search suggestions coming from some SharePoint lists, as well as data coming from the graph down here. So if you compare this with the out-of-the-box query suggestions, so they're a little bit different. But that means if you set up, for example, an HR portal, you could have query suggestions only for HR. So you can target the suggestions for that particular search scenario. But what's bad about this page is you have two search boxes. We don't want that, because that makes it hard for the end user. And as Karim said, well, you can also hide the search box. And this time I will remember to connect to my site. And then set PMP, search settings, search, and then do hidden. And there's a disclaimer here saying hiding the search box will hide the search box from the current site as well as its lists and libraries. So if you do this on the root site, you also hide the search box in SharePoint Home, which might be what you want, but that's something you need. And it will tell you specifically if you do that on the root site. So let's do yes. And we just reload the page. And the search box is gone, makes it easier for the users. So I'm going to do a search query first. I'm going to search for phone conference system, but I'm going to type the query in Norwegian. So that will be, jeg vil starte en telefonkonferanse. So what's happening here? So there's a debug panel here as well, which makes it easier. So, well, it actually detected language as Danish, but it's the same translation, so it doesn't really matter. So now it's translated the query to, I want to start a phone conference. And then using Lewis, it's also found an intent. That means a phone conference in this particular scenario would be Microsoft Teams, but that would be the tool. So what's happening then? So they have this custom or best or promoted results web part, which actually then matches on Microsoft Teams and shows you best bet, which is the tool you want. So that means you found some intent, you did a translation to find the actual results. So these are things you could do yourself, depending on the business you work with, the domain, etc., to make it easier for your end users. So I'll do another query here as well. How do I get access to the support tickets portal? So see, I have a couple of spelling errors here as well. So there was a spell check here, which corrected my spelling. And then also, there was a natural language processing, which removed all the how do I terms, and then simplified it to access support ticket portal. And then there's also a synonym being added, support for with assistance, so it brings in the word assistance. And then I get the employee assistance portal as a result. So this really helps with adding synonyms, so all these parts, right? So, but this is something you could build yourself. So that means you have the query, and then you have the query pipeline. So this is all custom built. So I'm just going to switch back to the slides fairly quickly. On number 5. So what's coming as well is the ability to grab the search query, right? So I showed you I could grab the query and use it with dynamic data to my own web parts. So there's coming a special application customizer, search application customizer, which will grab the query, and you do whatever you want with it before it's passed down with dynamic data to your page. So that's coming in beta for the next version of SharePoint Framework. I wish I had the switcher up here as well. Make it easier. So if I switch over to my next demo, so here I've actually set up a sort of, using the SharePoint PnP web parts, I created a template with verticals, mimicking sort of the classic results. And we're actually looking to have this template into the PnP provisioning service, where you have all the lookbook designs, to have a search center design there as well, so people could easily spin up a modern version of this. So if I now search for marketing, you see it did some translation here as well. So what happened behind the scenes, so there's an application customizer sitting on this page, picked up the query, fired it off to Azure Translation Service, and then expanded into a multiple OR query to give me more results. So that was a lot of stuff. So to summarize, so I started with showing you how you can change the search scope. That means you can have the tenant, the site, or the tenant level scope by default. Then I showed you that you could redirect the search box over to a different page, and then using dynamic data, picking up the search query. I also showed you how you can hide the search box if you're bringing your own search box. And then this new application customizers where you can pick up everything. But I think the point here is that search is moving out of SharePoint. It's not only SharePoint anymore. So I mean, we're bringing in more first-party data. You're getting stream videos and also third-party video or third-party data with the new connectors. And that means the API is moving away from the SharePoint REST API over to the Graph API, and that's where Nicholas comes in.
Thank you, Mika. Can you hear me? Yeah. So what I'm going to show you is go a little bit down the stack on what is it that you have to access the data, to access the Microsoft Search API? Because you used to work in SharePoint and you were accessing the SharePoint REST API. So now we are standing up something different, where you can typically what Jyoti has been showing all the first party, all the out of the box experience. What we're doing now is we're exposing an endpoint where you can access the exact same data with the same relevance. So I'll walk you through what we have built. Just before that, I just want to show that this is documented. It's out online on the Graph site. And also, we have made sure to, if you're familiar with Graph Explorer and with Microsoft Graph, we have added all these new Microsoft Search samples in the Graph Explorer. So this is live. You can go and take a look, and it's mostly what I am going to show you in the demo. In the demo, I'm using Postman because I'm more familiar with that, and I think it's easier to use. So what I'm doing first here is I'm getting a token before to actually do the search. I will directly go to, so we are enabling exposing message and event. I will skip this part because I think in the context of SharePoint, it's not very relevant. So this is the new API we're exposing. So it's a new endpoint in search, in Graph, /search/query. And what you specify in the JSON payload is the type of entity you want back. So here I'm saying I want drive item. Drive item is the Graph representation of file. And then I'm exposing the query term contoso. What you get in the response here, you will get search results that are actually graph entities, the representation of files in the graph construct. So if you are a graph developer, you will get some drive items, which is something you may be familiar with. So let me toggle this and remove the sidebar. We're going to get a little bit more space. So why does this matter? This matters because the ordering of results you get from this API is the exact same one as what you get in the SharePoint files vertical. So if you want to build your custom UX and you're not okay with the out-of-the-box UX, you could be using what Mika has been showing, some customization, and under the cover, call this API, and then you will get a different UX, potentially some different functionality, but the search result will be ordered the same way as it is in the out-of-the-box experience. So that's for file. Switching gears. With connectors, I don't know if you're familiar with connectors, but with connectors, we're providing the ability to bring in data into the Microsoft Search Index. So there's a bunch of different connectors. One of the connectors is external file. You will be able to do something very similar that SharePoint Hybrid used to do, where you could index on-prem file share. So that's kind of the new way you will be able to do that. You will be able to stand up an external connector, stand up a gateway, ingest an external file share, push this into the Microsoft Search Index, and from the Search API, you will be able here to access this data. So here, in the search result, what you're getting is you're getting an external file, which is a new entity we've modeled in the Microsoft Graph, which gets some default properties. That is simply the basic representation of the file. Note that the file is still pointing as where it is. It is not getting the file moved into SharePoint. That would be a migration. This is the scenario where the files are on a file share. You want them to remain here for many very different reasons, and you're just here with just pushing the data into the index. This is for external file. Note that you will be able also to blend drive items, so files in SharePoint, with external file. And when you execute these queries, you're going to get drive items here, as well as external file below. Here, down the list, I'm getting below the list. Okay, I should be getting external file. External item now. With connectors, MediaWiki was a very good example. ServiceNow was a very good example. These are not constructs that exist in SharePoint. So when Jyoti has showed that you configure a connector, you define the schema. So a ServiceNow article, I think I had a name, a title, a description, a URL. This is the model you define during ingestion. Here, we are providing the ability from the API to query this item. So what you need to do here is to specify the type of entity, external item. That's kind of a generic term to designate a property bag. And then you provide the connection, the address of the connection. This is wiki contoso is the name of the connection that was provided and when you configure the connectors, and then you provide the fields that you want to retrieve. And so when you execute these queries, you're getting search results, and you're getting the actual external item types, and then the different properties from that. So what I'm showing here is that this is a way to build on top of, Jyoti has been providing what is the out-of-the-box experience with the custom vertical where you get the service now out of the box. What we're showing here is that now with using the Microsoft Search API, you can access the data and build something customized on top of it if this is what you want to do. Thank you.
Whirlwind tour of all the things that you can do with Microsoft Search. So it's not the timid Microsoft Search experience with one single search results page anymore. You can start there, you can start to configure it, and now you're adding your connectors, you're adding your custom verticals, you're adding your layouts, and you can even query that in the Graph API that you have, so you can use it elsewhere. And the search results page, custom search results page with the query extensibility with SharePoint Framework, that opens lots of doors to various things as well. All right, so we covered these through our demos. So what can you look forward to very quickly before we run out of, we are a little out of time, but it's okay. So we're gonna be bringing the customizing the capability, customized verticals capability to SharePoint content, as well as the custom result types layouts for SharePoint content. You will also be able to edit the out-of-box verticals that we have. This all is coming by June 2020, so that's a little further out. The custom search results, custom search suggestions capability, we're going to be adding that to SharePoint Framework again in the first half of next year. So not only can you modify the query once it's entered, but you'll be able to show your own custom suggestions inside the SharePoint Microsoft Search search box that's in the suite header. So all that are things to look forward to by the first half of next year. So with that, I'll quickly flash the roadmap. This has been shared earlier, but feel free to grab a picture of it. That kind of lists all the things that are coming to Microsoft Search across all the different things. I strongly encourage you to go in and watch all the sessions that we had. We had 6 breakout sessions and 3 theater sessions that you can see right here. I'm gonna move to it once pictures are taken. So we have these resources, the Microsoft Search blog, the Resource Center, GitHub experience where you can get samples and the PnP Modern Search, the Graph API, and of course the intelligent search solution from our Microsoft Professional Services friends that shared that demo with us. And here are the related sessions. So these are the sessions to look for in the session catalog, so you can go back and watch these on demand to get all the great SharePoint, all the great Microsoft Search news, including, of course, Microsoft Search in SharePoint and Bing and Office.com, everywhere. All right. Thank you very much. Please evaluate us.